Hi all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology, and today, all things Mercury retrograde and, lean a little closer, why it can be a good thing. Mercury retrograde has become synonymous in pop culture with the world is ending, disaster will ensue, relationships will fall apart, everything will descend into chaos. And I'm here to share with you 8 ways that Mercury retrograde can actually be beneficial for you in your life and how to lean into the influence rather than fighting against it. Before I dive in and share these 8 ways, I would so love if at any point you enjoy the video, if you could like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell on, only if I've earned it. That sort of encouragement really is what helps me to continue these cosmic videos, and I appreciate it so very much. And without further ado, let's dive in. So, Mercury retrograde is when the planet of Mercury behaves differently. Not bad or good. All energy in astrology is neutral, but essentially it's when the function of Mercury is operating a little bit differently. Mercury is the planet of communication, of intellect, of technology, and in our modern world, the reason we assign so much meaning to Mercury is because so much of what we do is mercurial. And during this time, we can certainly expect technical snafus and issues to arise because Mercury is operating differently. This is due to Mercury stationing. So think of our planet Earth. It's going. And then Mercury, because it stations, it looks from our vantage point here on Earth, though it is traversing backwards. So in astrology, rather than Mercury functioning forward, which is having conversations with you, relating to our world, technology, getting this message to this person, the function of Mercury operates in a different way. So whenever you look at retrograde planets, whether it's in a birth chart or in real life, it's operating internally first before external. So a forward or a direct planet will just kind of function outward. So a direct Mercury, I converse to you. I send this email to you. Whereas Mercury retrograde flips the script in that it's funneled first internally and then externally. I do have a video if you're a Mercury retrograde native and the beauty that can be found in this natal placement, but it's important to know with Mercury retrograde that it first funnels internally, which is why there can be a lot of snafus and chaos and why there can be miscommunications because of this different way of conversing, this different way of processing. And so it's not good or bad. It's what we assign to it. And this video will illuminate to you how to flow with the cosmos rather than to spend this Mercury retrograde banging your hands against the wall and being like, why are things not going my way? They're not going your way because it doesn't like you. You're not just flowing with the river of the cosmos. Flow with the cosmos, see what it's trying to teach you when Mercury's retrograde. So let's start with the 8 ways that Mercury retrograde can actually be a good thing. One, Mercury retrograde provides a slow down period, which is so needed in this crazy world. And there's so much discourse and so many conversations about continually like manifesting and the new thing, and I've got to be a business owner, I've got to do all these things. And there's nothing wrong with ambition. I love ambition. I'm fueled on ambition myself. But I think we can get in our own way when we are so fixated on the next thing, that we forget to just slow down and learn what we're meant to learn here. With Mercury retrograde, it causes delays because remember, the direction is kind of flipped, so things can get a little bit funky. Instead of Mercury moving direct, it's going in a different direction from our vantage point here on planet Earth. So in terms of getting from point A to point B, we could get delays, obstructions, so on and so forth. But these delays can be a good thing. And they can be frustrating if we're in the mindset that we need to be always going forward and always moving onward. But it can be beautiful when you just take that opportunity rather than get frustrated and like bang your hands against the steering wheel when you're in a traffic jam. If you can just sit and be like, okay, I'm in a traffic jam. There's nothing I can do about this. So how am I going to make this the best moment it can be? because it really doesn't matter whether I bang my hands against the steering wheel or I just turn the radio up and vibe. I'm still going to get to my destination at the same amount of time. So how can I make this the best opportunity? That's what Mercury retrograde is like to me. It can create slowdowns and frustrating kind of detours, but it is what you make it to be. Maybe you can use that slowdown to breathe, to catch your breath, to process what has transpired rather than rushing into the next thing. Because there's so much in our modern world that is just so fixated on the external, what things look from the outside, whereas Mercury retrograde really is an invitation inward, so long as we slow down to appreciate it. So, you know, in this capitalistic society, constantly being told to work and to grind and to hustle, Mercury retrograde can be a slowdown to tune inward, to connect, to enjoy what, you know, the moment has for you. Just be grateful with what your life looks like so far, rather than just being fixated on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Two, Mercury retrograde can create a beautiful opportunity to explore inwards. As I've said, the direction of Mercury is funneled backwards, right? So instead of being able to converse, we're having a more profound dialogue within. And this can, you know, be frustrating in that we can overthink what we say. We can feel a little bit more self-conscious or really be overthinking what we say before we say it. But it can be beautiful in that, when's the last time you took the opportunity to talk to yourself and to see what's truly going on with you? Because with Mercury retrograde, it's best to work on things that are already ongoing rather than force into the next thing. And so often we are so convinced that happiness is waiting for us if we just get that next promotion, or if we launch the business, or if we have this many followers, or whatever else it looks like. With Mercury retrograde, it's like the slowdown with like, how am I doing? Like really processing and using its introspective, thoughtful energy to really process. How are you doing? Mercury largely has to do with words, so it also could be a time of contemplating, how is it that I talk to myself? Why do I call myself a stupid bee every time I mess up at work? Like, how can I rewrite, rescript what's going on in my mind so it's more supportive of me? And that sort of slowdown, you know, it's like Mercury retrograde is like telling you, have those conversations with yourself. Look inward. It's so easy to dull the noise of our inner mind with external events and noise, and it's much more challenging to truly sit with yourself and connect. Reason 3 why Mercury retrograde can be a good thing. Calling all of my writers. I think this is such a beautiful writing aspect, because think about what I've said. Mercury gets funneled internally and then externally. And if you watch my Mercury retrograde native video, you'll realize how many amazing like writers and speakers have Mercury retrograde in the birth chart, because words, ideas are funneled inward and then outward. It takes kind of some thought process and ideas and letting those ideas germinate until it can come out. And it creates this more thoughtful processing of the world. So really, if you're a writer, have a journal, write down your observations. You're seeing the world differently. Like I said, when Mercury changes directions from our vantage point here on planet Earth, the way we think changes directions. The way we process the world changes directions. And in that, it can create a lot of creativity and inspiration. So please, writers, write during this influence. Reason 4 why Mercury retrograde is a good thing. We can dig up, process, and heal past drama or arguments. Mercury retrograde is known for digging up old beef or having to deal with old problems. And while that can be frustrating, it's like, okay, why am I running into someone I had beef with like in 3rd grade? It can be beautiful in that the more introspective energy of Mercury retrograde can be used to actually have very, very healing conversations. And I want you to think about, like, I want you to be in tune with your inner mind on processing all of these things, and see how you can use communication to finally process this. Because like I said earlier, it's like the pace of life is that we are constantly moving forward. No time to think, no time to heal. Gotta get forward, gotta get the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, right? And with Mercury retrograde, it's like, are there conversations that you need to have with people that you just forgot you were upset about because you didn't have time to be upset because you had to go to school, because you had to go to work, because you had to handle all these other things? Are there conversations that you feel would do your heart and your soul justice? Is there friendships or relationships that you feel like could be picked back up again if you had, conversations? And rather than being so fixated on, I want this person in my life, notice what comes up during Mercury retrograde, like you run into someone who, you haven't thought about, notice what that reveals to you about you. So rather than being hyper-focused on the other person, although with Mercury retrograde, it can kind of be a soothing of conversation to mend past relationships, notice what comes up to you about you. Like if you run into someone who used to make you horribly insecure in 7th grade, like taking that time to really reflect, what was it that they triggered in me? How can I rewrite that script that person, drilled into me to make my mind a more pleasant, a more peaceful place to be? So if people do come back up in your life, don't take it as like, oh, astrology is saying I need to be in this person. Sure, that can work out sometimes. Sometimes they'll pop up during Mercury retrograde because we need to have conversations with them when we could potentially mend the relationship. But most of the time, it's meant to show you something about you. The way that you talk to yourself, the way that you process the world, something that you learned about yourself in that relationship, something that relationship triggered in you. So it's looking back in the past, but it's not staying there. It's taking the lesson and moving forward in your life. 5, this is sort of related, but I do think Mercury retrograde is a lovely time for nostalgia. How I view the cosmos is that it gives us these like pockets of opportunity and these pockets of like kind of downtime. For Mercury retrograde, it could be a time of thinking, because Mercury is our thought processes, about the past. Retrograde tends to flip the direction of life, right? And so if there is a time to be nostalgic, not to live there, but to think about it, it's now. So definitely take that time. Look through the old photo albums, like read through your old journal entries. I think it's a beautiful opportunity to just reflect on how far you've come. And I don't think we should constantly be living in the past and digging up the boxes and reliving this relationship and thinking about this. But it is beautiful to look back on and be like, wow, I've really grown. Anything just to see how you've grown and developed and to remember the person you used to be and to be able to be like, okay, am I making this person proud? Am I not? Am I happy with where my life is? Did I hope it would be differently? And because sometimes reflecting about the past can better inform and inspire our future. Like, you know, I remember when I was at my 9 to 5 and there was a Mercury retrograde where I was like digging through some boxes and I had found like this piece that I wrote when I was younger, and it really just inspired me because I've always wanted to be a writer. That was like something I was just always really certain of, and finding it just kind of triggered this feeling of like, what am I doing? I'm like living my life for other people when I've always been so certain I wanted to write, and now I'm like so busy trying to make money that I've totally lost that facet of myself. And I remember that was sort of the catalyst for a lot of transformations that occurred after, where I was like, okay, I'm not happy. I've lost touch with who I am. I've lost touch with what I've wanted for my life. And Mercury retrograde can absolutely inspire those deep dives, and they absolutely could be triggered by nostalgia. Way 6 says this can be a beautiful opportunity. They say the prefix re is what's really supported during Mercury retrograde. So revising, recalibrating, rewriting, and there are so many things, especially for my creatives, you know, when you make something and it's like halfway and then you just lose steam. Mercury retrograde is the time to go through those works. See if there's any like shreds of genius within it. It's like that painting that you half did or that short story that you half wrote. Is there any gems of genius within it that you can go back and rewrite? Sometimes when I'm in a major writer's block, I just go back to things that I've already written and extend it more, because it's a good way to kind of get it flowing again, and you can actually take it to completion, because it's not necessarily a bad or inopportune time during Mercury retrograde. It's just considered that you should work on things that are already ongoing rather than forcing onward to the next project. See what you've already done. See if there's any shreds of genius, any interesting ideas that you can extrapolate more. Not only providing insight for ourselves, but also providing insight for our projects. With Mercury retrograde, it's kind of an opportunity that we can take ourselves out of like the hustle and bustle of like working on a project or working on a side gig or working on our passion project, and take a step back and really think about it and revise the way forward if you need to. It's not an opportune time to launch those new changes, but it's a great time to look at your plan and be like, okay, is this working? Like said Mac, looking at the analytics, are we getting the numbers that we want? How can we review this plan to make it more synchronized moving forward? It creates a thoughtful timeout from the hustle and bustle of trying to generate content or push things out to really be thoughtful around what is it that I want to do? What is the goal? And are we meeting that? And to kind of look at the analytics and kind of slow down the process. Number 7 is to get organized. With Mercury retrograde, it slows down the pace of life to being so concerned with like, gotta move forward to the next thing, the next thing. So it could be a great opportunity to look through your belongings, to organize them, to get them all set up, to look through your computer files, delete things that no longer serve you. It slows down moving forward and allows you to kind of change your perspective to create space in your life. For example, like if you want a new project, like going through and deleting files from your Dropbox so you have space to invite in that new project. Or if your house is just teeming with stuff, it just creates this opportunity to look back, and rather than be focused on buying new things and pitching new projects, it's like, okay, how can I create space in my current world to support me moving forward? How can I use this pause to catch up, to take a break, to breathe, to go through my belongings, to get organized, to get clear, so I have space to invite in the new. My last way that Mercury retrograde can be a good thing is, yes, it can create technological snafus and issues. And while that can be so frustrating, it can also create this beautiful finding of peace, or like in creating a little bit more space from your devices. Like if you're trying to like post the same thing like over and over on Instagram, like, and it's not posting, like take it as an opportunity, like, okay, clearly this is not happening right now. Let me breathe. Let me find something else to do. You also could be reviewing your usage of social media or other technology and being like, is this truly serving me? What's my mental state when I get all these platforms and when I leave? And how can I use these platforms to make them more helpful for my life rather than more detrimental for my mental space? It definitely gives us a more thoughtful approach to social media, although it can create snafus if you do experience those sort of things. Take an opportunity, breathe, redirect your energy, get really mindful and grounded. I think with Mercury retrograde, we can notice our thought patterns are a little slower, our technology is a little slower, and we can register that as a character flaw, or that something's wrong with us, that we're not smart, or you can just see it as an opportunity to breathe, to be in the moment. What do you smell? What do you feel? What's here? What's around you? Because these online and technical worlds can feel so real, but they're really not. And when the Wi-Fi is down, and when your computer goes out, what's still there? You. So coming back to your body, breathing, being gentle with yourself if you're not able to think of the right words, or you're not able to send the email, or there was a miscommunication, taking that extra beat to just pause, just breathe, reflect. It won't last forever. It's a cosmic slowdown for you to review the past, recalibrate your priorities, rewrite that half-written story, revise your ongoing project, readdress some issues in your relationship or in your friendship, and then be able to move forward from a more clear, a more mindful, a more calm, a more organized, a more inspired state. But it takes you leaning into it and not getting super frustrated at every snafu and forcing yourself to keep going forward at the same rate, even if you're feeling a little bit more introspective. The cosmos is conspiring for you to take this pause, take this beat, reflect, and then emerge at the end of Mercury retrograde feeling like a beautiful butterfly. Friends, I so loved babbling about this. I would love to hear what you thought. You could drop a comment, like, subscribe only if I've earned it. And let me know if you want more content like this. It was more of like kind of a spiritual, rambly sort of thing, but I'm happy to do it if you would like. My Instagram handle is at Haley Comet Astrology. My TikTok is Haley_Comet Astrology. I would so love to connect with you there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.